So today on the deep dive, we're taking a look at a pretty fascinating stack of sources.
We really are. We've got articles, technical blog posts, and some really detailed usage reports today.
Yeah, and they all center around this one single platform called UtilityApps.site. Our mission today is to explore how this one website is basically acting as an antidote to the friction of the modern internet.
Right, because the friction online right now is, frankly, it's exhausting.
It totally is. I mean, the site offers over 100 free digital tools with absolutely zero signups. And, we really want to unpack what its massive global popularity reveals about, well, our everyday digital needs.
It's a compelling set of sources. It really forces you to step back and just look at the sheer amount of cognitive overhead we've all just kind of accepted as normal.
Yeah, accepted as the cost of doing business online.
Exactly. We are really exploring a fundamental rethinking of how software should treat a user's privacy and, their time.
To put that friction into perspective for you, just think about a modern kitchen. If you look in the drawers, you will almost certainly find one of those over-engineered, heavily marketed gadgets.
Oh, like a smart appliance or something.
Right. Let's say it's a smart avocado slicer. It requires an app download, a Wi-Fi connection, maybe a firmware update.
Don't forget the account creation.
Oh, obviously. You have to create an account with a password that needs a special character just to slice an avocado. But meanwhile, sitting right there in the same drawer is a simple, perfectly reliable Swiss Army knife.
You just open it up, use it, and put it away. It just works.
Exactly. It just works. And right now, navigating the digital world feels entirely like using that smart avocado slicer.
It really does. I mean, we've built this incredibly powerful digital infrastructure, but the actual user experience is constantly derailed by these tiny, maddening roadblocks.
Yeah, it's like the modern digital economy is just based on extracting something from you.
Whether it's your time, your data, or your monthly subscription fee, right? They want something before you're permitted to accomplish even a 5-second task.
That is exactly the pain point. Like, say you just want to merge two PDF documents, or maybe compress an image so it actually fits in an email attachment limit.
And suddenly you just hit a paywall.
A paywall, or like a full-page cookie consent banner that requires an actual law degree to decipher. Or they force you to give them your email address so they can spam your inbox until the end of time.
Which is exactly why utility apps is such an interesting case study for us today. It completely strips away all of that extraction.
Yeah, it's like a look at what the open web was initially supposed to be, just a place of accessible utility.
And it shows how one platform is actually attempting to bring that ethos back.
So, okay, let's get into the actual architecture of this platform, because the scale here is just wild.
It really is.
The sources detail exactly 107 free tools, and they're spread across 17 different categories.
We are talking about everything from PDF manipulators to image converters.
Yeah, and even sleep calculators, developer utilities, SEO generators, and the rule across the entire board is absolute. Zero signups, no usage caps.
And no secret pro tiers either.
Right. No locking the actually useful features behind a paywall. But the biggest thing is there are no files uploaded to strangers.
That last point right there, the not uploading files part, that is the cornerstone of the entire project.
How so?
Well, it's the technical philosophy that makes all of their other promises financially and logistically possible.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because we all know the golden rule of the modern internet.
If the product is free, you are the product.
Exactly. If they aren't charging a subscription fee or collecting emails, the assumption is they must be scraping our data to sell to advertisers, right? How is this safe?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
But they bypass that data harvesting model entirely by changing where the software actually executes.
What do you mean by where it executes?
So the traditional model for a web tool, say a video compressor, it relies on server-side processing. You take your personal video file and you upload it to some massive tech company's server farm.
Okay, so it leaves my computer.
Right. Their server does the heavy computational math to compress the file, and then it sends the smaller file back to you.
Which obviously costs the company money in server hosting fees.
Exactly. And crucially, it gives them temporary or sometimes permanent access to your private file.
Right. And to offset those server costs, they either charge you $10 a month or they mine the data you just handed over.
Precisely. But utility apps uses what is known as client-side execution or in-browser technology.
Okay, so it runs locally.
Yes. When you click on the image compressor on their site, the actual computational work runs instantly inside your own web browser. Your computer's processor or your phone's chip is doing all the heavy lifting.
Oh, wow. So instead of me sending my raw ingredients to their restaurant kitchen to be cooked, which costs them overhead and gives them access to my food, they're essentially just mailing me the recipe in the pots and pans.
That is a perfect way to visualize it.
And then my own computer does the cooking locally.
Exactly. Because the file never actually leaves your device, the platform completely bypasses those massive cloud infrastructure costs.
That makes so much sense.
And inherently, just by default, it protects your privacy. I mean, they couldn't harvest your data even if they were forced to, because your data literally never touches their servers.
So it's a structural win-win. It just directly challenges the standard software as a service model.
Totally.
But wait, surely if the browser is downloading something to my local machine, it still has to ping their server to get the tool in the first place, right?
Sure, it makes an initial request.
So how private is that initial handshake? Take their language translation tool, for instance. The sources note it supports English, Spanish, French, German, and a bunch of others.
Right. Italian, Portuguese, Dutch, Russian.
Yeah. So does my machine have to send my text to their server to get it translated?
Not the text, no. When you use a specific language pair for the very first time, your browser makes a standard web request to download a small translation model.
Just the recipe, to use my analogy.
Exactly, just the recipe. But once that model is downloaded to your browser cache, it goes completely offline.
Wait, really? It just works offline after that?
Completely. The actual parsing of your text, your private conversations, or your sensitive documents, it all happens locally. It is entirely isolated from the rest of the web.
That is a profound shift in trust. You aren't asking a massive tech corporation to, promise they won't look at your data.
Right. You don't have to trust their legal team.
You are just keeping the data yourself and basically borrowing their digital hammer to fix it.
Yeah. It takes the concept of privacy from being a legal promise buried in some terms of service and turns it into a physical architectural guarantee.
That is fascinating. And if we look at the raw numbers from these usage reports, there is a massive behavioral shift happening here.
Oh, the numbers are staggering.
Because if the tools are totally free, instantly accessible, and entirely private, we get to see what the world is desperately trying to accomplish without all that friction.
Let's look at the finance category first.
Yeah, let's do that. The mortgage calculator is getting 2.7 million hits every single month.
2.7 million.
And the loan calculator is pulling 2.2 million.
Those numbers represent a massive volume of individual life decisions. Buying a house, financing a car, evaluating debt.
Historically, to get those complex calculations, you had to sit down with a bank representative.
Or at least input your email into a financial website so they could capture you as a sales lead.
Right. You're just trying to figure out if you can afford a mortgage, and suddenly a loan officer is calling your cell phone during dinner.
Exactly. The scale of those hits just shows how much people want the raw math, totally isolated from a sales funnel.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The category that completely stopped me in my tracks was the legal tools.
The legal numbers are wild.
A privacy policy generator is getting 1.5 million users a month. The terms of service generator has 900,000.
And people are generating non-disclosure agreements, NGAs, 720,000 times a month.
And over 380,000 people are generating cease and desist letters. That represents the population of a major metropolitan city every single month, bypassing expensive lawyers to draft legal documents.
That specific data point exposes a glaring chasm in the modern economy, I think.
How so?
Well, over the last decade, we've seen this huge surge in independent creators, gig economy workers, and micro businesses. But the professional services required to protect those businesses, like corporate lawyers, are heavily gatekept.
Yeah, by exorbitant hourly rates.
Right. If you are a freelance graphic designer who just got stiffed on a $500 invoice, you can't afford a $400 an hour attorney to write a cease and desist letter.
You're just completely priced out of the justice system at that baseline level.
Exactly. So when a platform offers a clean, private way to generate a foundational legal template, it democratizes that protection.
It doesn't replace a bespoke legal defense in a courtroom, obviously.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But it bridges the gap for everyday structural needs that traditional systems have made far too intimidating and costly to access.
It's acting as a universal toolkit for a completely fragmented workforce. And it spans incredibly diverse professions, too.
Yeah, just look at their daily trending lists.
You've got students doing PDF to Word conversions. You've got designers using an AI-driven remove background tool to, isolate objects and photos.
And then you have highly technical software developers using the platform's regex tester.
Which is a great example of how this appeals to power users just as much as novices. For anyone outside of software engineering, regex or regular expressions is essentially this highly complex search and replace algorithm.
Is used to hunt down extremely specific patterns across thousands of lines of code.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful, but famously a massive headache to format correctly. So developers need a quick, reliable sandbox to test their regex logic before deploying it.
And they're using this exact same site that a high school student is using to compress a history paper.
It really proves that digital friction is a universal pain point. Whether you are writing complex code or just trying to calculate your body mass index, the exhaustion of having to jump through corporate hoops is identical.
It really is.
So let's zoom in on one very specific hoop that almost everyone universally dreads. We have a source here, a video script that breaks down one of the platform's travel tools.
The Visa lookup tool.
Yes. And this use case really illuminates how removing friction fundamentally changes a real-world experience.
Because navigating state-level bureaucracy is perhaps the ultimate test of cognitive load. Government systems are, well, they're rarely designed with the user's peace of mind as a priority.
That is an understatement. If you have ever tried to figure out if you need a visa for an international trip, you know the nightmare.
It's terrible.
You do a web search, and you are immediately bombarded by clutter. Official immigration websites are often buried beneath dense legal jargon.
Or they force you to download these outdated PDF matrices just to read a simple entry chart.
And then you have the agency websites.
Oh, the ones that mimic the official government branding?
Yes. They look official, they use the right flags and fonts, but they are actually third-party consultants trying to charge you an $80 processing fee just to answer a basic yes or no question about your passport.
It's an environment seemingly designed to make you feel anxious and confused. You're just terrified of making a bureaucratic mistake at the border.
Which makes sense when you look at the incentive structures. Government agencies don't really have a financial incentive to optimize their web interfaces for clarity.
And those third-party agencies have an active financial incentive to maintain the confusion, so you pay them to translate it.
Exactly. So, enter the Utility Apps Visa Lookup tool. The process takes about 30 seconds.
It's incredibly fast.
You select your passport country from a drop-down, say, Nigeria. Then you select your destination country, let's say Germany. Instantly, the screen populates with the baseline reality.
It tells you if you need a visa, the exact type required, the typical processing time, the associated government fees, and any specific notes.
And if you change the destination to Canada, the entire page updates instantly.
It completely sidesteps the anxiety loop.
But it raises an interesting question about the role of tech, I think. Because a free browser tool isn't stamping a passport.
No.
So is a free 30-second browser tool replacing embassies and travel agents?
Not at all. It doesn't replace the embassy or the actual application process. You still have to navigate the official paperwork.
Right.
But what it does is restore baseline situational awareness. It empowers you with the facts before you step into the bureaucratic maze.
Whether you are a tourist, a business traveler, or a company trying to hire remote staff internationally, you just walk into the process with your eyes open.
Yeah, it takes a system that traditionally makes you feel helpless and injects immediate clarity without charging a toll or harvesting your travel data.
But hang on, we really need to talk about the economics of this.
The hosting costs.
Yeah, we just established this platform is getting millions of hits. And while client-side processing takes the heavy lifting off the servers for things like compressing a video, a tool like the Visa Lookup requires querying massive, constantly updated global databases.
But absolutely. The domain routing alone for millions of users, the API calls, which is how different pieces of software talk to each other in the background to pull those real-time visa requirements. All of that generates a massive digital footprint.
The bandwidth and API costs must scale exponentially with that kind of traffic.
They do.
The sheer volume of this traffic should be generating hosting bills that would bankrupt a normal person. You would just assume a platform of this scale is being run by a giant Silicon Valley conglomerate with hundreds of engineers and endless venture capital.
You really would.
So who is actually absorbing this cost?
This might be the most surprising detail in the sources. It isn't a conglomerate at all.
Wait, really?
No, it was built by an independent developer named Daniel, based in Lagos.
One guy.
Just one person. And the origin story is incredibly relatable. It started simply as a weekend project called One Word Counter.
Oh, I love that.
He built it purely out of builder's frustration. Every time he needed to do a simple task online, count the words in an essay, convert an image, calculate a loan, he landed on a site demanding his email or hiding the feature behind a paywall.
Or burying the tool underneath 5 layers of intrusive pop-up ads.
Exactly. It's the classic hacker motivation.
Hmm.
The existing ecosystem is broken, so I'll just build a clean, functional version for myself.
But then that one tool grew into hundreds. And, building a digital neighborhood lemonade stand is a great weekend project.
Sure.
But when millions of people suddenly show up every month to drink your lemonade, you accidentally become the town's primary utility company.
That's exactly what happened. For a long time, the sources note Daniel funded everything personally, working evenings and weekends, with some basic, non-intrusive ad revenue covering the hosting bills.
But as the site scales, that model fractures, right?
Yeah, you need more robust infrastructure, more time, and more resources just to keep the lights on and the platform fast. Because even with an efficient architecture, managing the traffic, securing the domains, paying for those API database calls, and developing new tools requires significant recurring overhead.
So rather than taking the venture capital route, which inevitably leads to the forced monetization and data mining he was trying to escape, Daniel is launching a founding supporter program.
It's essentially a voluntary patronage model, and the transparency is genuinely remarkable. He breaks down exactly, percentage by percentage, where the community support goes.
It's a target split designed for sustainable growth, not infinite profit.
Exactly.
So 25% goes directly to infrastructure, like the hosting, the domain renewals, the server routing.
Right. And then another 25% goes to a part-time content writer.
Because they don't just host tools, they actually have an entire educational blog.
Yeah, they cover things like research-backed study techniques or how to draft professional freelance invoices.
Or even deep dives into coding mechanics, like how to use CSS box shadows, which, for the uninitiated, is the coding trick web designers use to give elements that clean, three-dimensional pop off the page.
So it's a broader educational mission alongside the raw utility.
Right. And then 25% goes to a part-time social media manager to build the community. 15% covers the AI and design tool subscriptions necessary to build and maintain the site's interface.
And the final 10% is strictly dedicated to funding the development of new tools.
He even publishes transparent quarterly updates showing exactly how the funds were deployed.
This economic model is fascinating because it is a direct callback to the early ethos of the open web.
The open web. Let's unpack what that actually means in this context.
Well, in the 1990s and early 2000s, there was this core philosophical belief that the internet should be an interconnected web of universally accessible tools and information.
Right, a free exchange.
Yeah, it was built on community, utility, and decentralized knowledge. But over the last 15 years, we've largely abandoned that. We moved into an era of walled gardens app stores, forced software-as-a-service subscriptions.
And platforms that trap you in an ecosystem solely to extract value from your behavioral data.
We basically traded utility for extraction.
We really did. And what Daniel is doing from Legos is proving that the open web isn't a dead concept.
He is keeping the tools free, structurally private, and incredibly useful. And he is attempting to sustain it entirely through transparent, voluntary community patronage.
It is a highly optimistic bet that if you treat users with respect and actively save them time, they will voluntarily help you keep the lights on.
It's a complete rejection of the premise that every useful digital action requires a monthly subscription.
Utility Apps really acts as a masterclass in reducing digital friction. For you listening, whether you are a freelancer who desperately needs to generate a baseline NDA, or a student looking for a citation generator at 2 in the morning.
Or just someone trying to convert a PDF without handing over your personal data to a random server farm?
Exactly. This platform represents a fundamentally better, cleaner way to interact with the web.
It proves that the technology required to respect a user's privacy while saving them time actually already exists. The client-side architecture is there. It's simply a matter of prioritizing the user's experience over a corporate profit margin.
So we want to leave you with this final thought to mull over today. The next time you open up your laptop or unlock your phone, take a hard, critical look at the apps taking up your storage and the software subscriptions pinging your credit card every single month.
Yeah, really look at them.
How many of them are actually just simple, basic utilities wrapped up in a sleek interface, a recurring fee, and endless push notifications?
Probably more than you think.
If one independent developer in Legos can unbundle over 100 of these tools, run them seamlessly and privately right in your browser, and serve millions of people without a single login screen, What other digital necessities are you currently overpaying for simply because you've accepted that over-engineered smart avocado slicer as normal?
It definitely forces you to reevaluate what actual digital utility looks like.
It really does, because sometimes the absolute best tool in the kitchen is just the one that gets out of your way and works.